The vast Pacific stretches under a steel-gray dawn, June 4, 1942, somewhere northeast of Midway Atoll. Salt spray lashes the flight decks of 4 Imperial Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Hiryu, Soryu, as their air groups prepare for launch. The wind carries the sharp tang of aviation fuel and hot metal. Engines cough into life, propellers blur against the horizon, and the first wave rises like a dark cloud toward the distant island. Aboard the flagship Akagi, Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo stands on the bridge, certain that surprise remains his ally, that the American fleet lies broken and distant. Yet this moment marks the beginning of an awakening that Japanese commanders had feared but never fully grasped. For months, the Imperial Navy had swept across the ocean, from Pearl Harbor to the Coral Sea, believing their carriers, the swift, deadly instruments of the Kido Butai, would dictate the terms of war. They envisioned a short, decisive campaign, crushing the remnants of the American Pacific Fleet in a single clash of arms. The aircraft carrier, after all, was no longer a novelty. Japan had pioneered its massed use, launching coordinated strikes that humbled battleships and seized empires. But the Americans possessed something far more profound than doctrine, an industrial capacity that defied imagination. While Japanese shipyards labored to produce a handful of fleet carriers, American factories from Bethlehem Steel to Newport News churned out vessels at a pace that seemed almost supernatural. By mid-1942, even after the losses at Coral Sea, the United States could field 3 carriers at Midway: Enterprise, Hornet, and the hastily repaired Yorktown, while building dozens more in the shipyards back home. By war's end, America would commission over 100 carriers, including the mighty Essex class and countless escort carriers, transforming the Pacific into an American lake. Japanese officers had studied the United States. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, architect of Pearl Harbor, had lived among Americans, walked their factories, and witnessed the ceaseless flow of steel and oil. He understood the peril. Anyone who has seen the auto factories in Detroit and the oil fields in Texas knows that Japan lacks the national power for a naval race with America, he warned his superiors. Yet even Yamamoto could not foresee the sheer scale of what followed. The American carriers were not mere ships, they were floating airfields, mobile fortresses that could appear anywhere, launch hundreds of planes, and vanish before retaliation arrived. What Japanese pilots and commanders expected at Midway was victory through superior tactics and spirit, the precise elite air groups that had devastated Pearl Harbor. What they encountered was something alien. Relentless waves of American aircraft rising from horizons they believed empty. Dive bombers from Enterprise and Yorktown plummeted through scattered defenses in minutes, turning proud carriers into infernos. Kaga exploded in a pillar of flame. Akagi burned helplessly. Soryu and Hiryu followed in quick succession. 4 fleet carriers, Japan's finest, lost in a single afternoon. The transformation was immediate and irreversible. Japanese naval officers who once spoke of decisive battles now confronted the reality of attrition they could never match. The loss at Midway shattered the myth of invincibility, forcing a shift from offensive conquest to desperate defense. The Imperial Navy, once masters of the sea, found itself reacting, never dictating. Every subsequent engagement, Guadalcanal, the Philippine Sea, Leyte Gulf, revealed the same truth. American carriers kept coming, replenished by an inexhaustible well of production. Through it all, one symbol recurred in the accounts of captured Japanese sailors and surviving officers: the American ration. While Japanese crews endured rice balls, dried fish, and meager portions stretched thin across vast distances, American sailors ate hot meals, steak, fresh bread, coffee, even ice cream, served on carriers that functioned as self-contained cities. That abundance was no accident. It was democracy at work, a nation where every man fought not just for emperor, but for a way of life that sustained body and spirit alike. The floating airfield did not merely carry planes, it carried the promise of plenty, a mobile testament to the resources that would outlast any samurai resolve. In the quiet aftermath, as the burning hulks of the Kido Butai drifted into history, the larger truth settled over the Pacific like twilight. Freedom, when backed by the will of a free people and the might of their industry, becomes unstoppable. The floating airfields were not mere steel and flight decks, they were the embodiment of a nation that could dream in iron and wake to victory. And in their endless coming, the world learned that no empire built on scarcity could long endure against one forged in abundance. The war would rage for 3 more years, but the turning point had come, not in a clash of guns, but in the realization that some forces, once awakened, cannot be put back to sleep.